I'm here for another Keeping It PC in the Kitchen. I have several things that I'm supposed to demonstrate today, so I'm going to do this one, and then I'm going to do another one later, and then another one, and these are the clothes I have on, so yes, it's all done in one day. I don't wear the same clothes all the time, just so you'll know. That's my disclaimer. The first thing I want to demonstrate today is something somebody asked me for, I think it was a week ago, but it might have been 2 weeks ago. So it's a gluten-free mug cake that you make in the ceramic egg cooker. And I've tried a couple different recipes in it, and this is the one I kind of like the best, so that's what we're going to do. I adapted this from a low-carb maven, I think is what it was called, but I tweaked it for my own liking. So the ingredients are on this card, and then I also have some little tips and some options that you can do. I will take a picture of this card and also the options and the cooking tips and put it in the comments below. But it's a really easy recipe, and what makes it even better for me is that not only is it gluten-free for all of my celiac friends out there, it is also keto-friendly. So sometimes you can get something that's gluten-free but just still full of carbs, and I'm trying to watch that. So gluten-free, keto-friendly. And I'm going to move the camera over here so you can see exactly what I'm doing. Very easy to do. Okay. I mean, this is very easy to do. Sometimes the moving thing is a little tricky. Let me put that down. Here we go. Okay. Now we're going to situate right here. Oh, let's move up a little bit. There, I think that's good. Okay, so we have our ceramic egg cooker, and this calls for almond flour, some cocoa powder. I use monk fruit for my sweetener because I like it better than any of the other artificial sweeteners. And then also it calls for a tablespoon of mayonnaise or sour cream. I'm going to go with sour cream because mayonnaise is gross to me. 1 egg yolk and a teaspoon of water. So here we go. First of all, you want to put your dry ingredients in. We're going to use almond flour, and we want 1 tablespoon. This is what we're using for the measuring device. I love it because you just dump it in there like that. In fact, I think it's 2 tablespoons. 2 tablespoons of almond flour. 1, 2. And then I'm going to do my monk fruit next because I don't want the almond powder all over my spoon. I mean the cocoa powder all over my spoon. So we're going to do 1 tablespoon also of the monk fruit. If you've not tried monk fruit and you're on a low carb diet, you're missing out. This is the stuff, man. Okay, so 1 tablespoon of that. And a tablespoon of cocoa powder. Now, here's a tip. This, you need to make sure this is all broken up. This is just a great value cocoa powder. But make sure that cocoa powder gets kind of clumpy, and you don't want clumps of cocoa powder because it will not measure out right, and then it'll be too much and it'll be bitter. Because let's face it, cocoa powder is not sweet. Alright, and then also a teaspoon of baking powder. And we're going to use this for the teaspoon measuring. I love these because you can just adjust 1 spoon to whatever you need. We're going to do 1 teaspoon of, 1/4 teaspoon. I'm so glad I looked at that. That seemed like a lot. 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder. You don't want to forget that because that's what makes it all rise up nice and fluffy. Okay, so we get that together, and I'm going to mix that up I thought I had everything right together, but I didn't have my fork. So we want to mix that up and make sure that it's well blended in there. All that good stuff, yummy. Okay, now we're going to add our liquid ingredients, which is the 1 tablespoon of either mayonnaise or sour cream. As I said, I opted for sour cream because I love sour cream donuts before I realized I was celiac, and I just thought that would make it taste almost like that. So we're going to put a tablespoon, and here you can see I've measured 1 tablespoon, and look how cool this is. You just squeeze that out. Oh, so much easier. And 1 egg yolk. Put that in there, and you just want the yolk. You don't want the white, just the yolk. If you put the egg white in there, it changes the texture, so you just want the yolk. Now, this is one of the options that it calls for, and it's just a tiny bit of flavoring, and so I'm going to use about 1/8 of a teaspoon of vanilla, and that's real vanilla. It's not imitation vanilla. If it's imitation vanilla, you might need more or less. I don't know. I'm not really sure how that works. Okay, now stir all that up. Oh, and I need a teaspoon of water. Hold on 1 second. One teaspoon of water coming up. And after you stir this up well, you might want to take a little mini spatula and make sure that you scrape around the edges really well, because you don't want any of that dried stuff on the bottom. So stir it up really good. Make sure you get the bottoms and the sides really, really mixed in. And from my own personal experience with this, if you don't stir it well, it's going to have a kind of a spongy texture that is, some parts of it are soft and moist, and some parts of it are just kind of clumpy and not so good. So make sure you mix it very well. And then after you mix it up really, really well, it needs to sit for about 2 minutes. All right, we're going to hold off here just a second. Okay, I think we're pretty well mixed in there. I'm going to scrape this off the sides. Okay, now that needs to set for about 2 minutes, and while it does that, I'm going to move the camera back over to the other spot. So bear with me while we transition. We did it. Okay, so while that is setting, I'm going to tell you some of the things you can put in the batter, or some options you can do to make it just a little bit different. All right, so wait, I had those written down. Hold on just a second. First of all, I want to tell you, before you even start cooking it, make sure to fluff up your almond flour, because almond flour gets a little clumpy, and you don't really want clumpy almond flour. And then also, you want to sift or else run a fork through your cocoa powder to make sure that all those clumps are out. And then only use the yolk of the egg. I've read a lot of different recipes for this, and some of them say, oh, well, you can use the yolk one time, save the white, and use the white the next time. But using the white, it's not the same texture. So, you know, eggs are cheap. I just use the yolk and throw the white away. But if you've got something you like to use the whites for, by all means, save them. I understand they freeze well. You know, I just don't do that. And when you mix it together, make sure that you mix the use the scraper and get in there and get all that off of the ends. Okay, those are the options. I think our batter has sat long enough now that we can put it in the microwave. So my microwave is a really cheap one. Well, I mean, it's not the cheapest microwave, but it's it's not real high powered. So I put it in for a full 60 seconds. You're gonna have to play around with your own microwave to see, you know, some of them might need 50 seconds or some of them might need a minute and 15 seconds. So you're just gonna have to look at it and see if it looks done. While that's cooking, I'm going to say this. Here are some options that you can do to mix this up a little bit. You could add a few berries to the batter. Now, if you're going to do that and you're watching your carbs, make sure it's raspberries or something that's on the GMO scale, or the low glycemic scale. You could also use an 1/8 to 1/4 bit of flavoring, which is what we did. We used vanilla. But you could put banana flavoring in there or almond flavor or whatever you want. You can put a spoonful of sugar-free jelly or jam in the batter, which would give it a nice little zing. You could put a small square of dark chocolate in the center of the batter before you cook it, and then it'll kind of be like a lava cake. You can top it with whipped cream, or you can sprinkle it with cinnamon or cinnamon sugar or nutmeg or whatever kind of spices you like that way. Okay, it just beats, so let's see how it turns out. Let's take a look and see if it is ready to go. It is. Okay, I've got to grab a fork because the fork that I used to stir it up has raw egg in it. So I want you to look. There it is in there. I'm thinking you could probably double this recipe and make more, but I'm trying to watch my portions, so I didn't. If you do double it, you might want to add a little bit of time on the microwave. So let me grab a fork, and we're going to do a taste test. I got my favorite fork. There's only one fork like this in my drawer, and all my family knows to not use it. They save it for me. When we set the table, everybody has the same fork except me. I don't know why. I have a favorite fork. Okay, here it is. Chocolate mug cake in the ceramic cooker. Look how tender it is. I'm going to get up close. Look how tender that is. All right, it's really hot, so I'm going to blow it. That is really good. I can't believe this is, I can't believe this is really, like, not going to make me go into a gluten attack, and it isn't going to ruin my whole carb intake either. I want to finish this one. Alright. That does it for this episode of Keeping It PC in the Kitchen. If there's anything you want me to demonstrate, comment below, and if I have it, I'll show it. But stay tuned, because in a little bit we're going to come back and show some of the new products that we have for Pampered Chefs starting in September. See you later. Thanks.